Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving into something, honestly, totally bizarre. We're looking at an internet-born political phenomenon that is literally shaking up digital spaces right now. We're exploring how real, deep youth frustration with systemic issues is driving this completely new form of digital protest. It's funny, yeah, but it's also angry, and it says so much about the times we're living in. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. So, let me ask you, are you supremely unemployed? Like, do you spend all day just sitting around, endlessly scrolling through reels on your phone? If your blood literally boils over exam paper leaks and stalled hiring processes? And if your main outlet for all that deep frustration is purely through Instagram stories and memes? Well, congratulations. You actually meet the absurd criteria for India's newest and arguably most rebellious political faction.
So, what exactly is this movement? It's called the Cockroach Janta Party, or CJP. Basically, it's a completely satirical, internet-only political movement created by Indian youth specifically to mock systemic failures and chronic joblessness. But, you gotta ask, why a cockroach, right? Well, the creators point out that a cockroach is that one insect you chase with a slipper, but somehow it always survives in some dark corner. It's practically impossible to kill. And these young people feel like they are treated exactly like that, ignored, beaten down, just stepped on by the system. So the CJP promises to do good for the youth while simultaneously using their massive digital platforms to essentially spear the politicians who ignore them.
It's just fascinating how perfectly this captures the shift in modern protest. Think about old politics. It required massive rallies, standing on hot roads, carrying heavy flags, listening to long, tiresome speeches. But CGP politics? They completely refuse all of that. There is absolutely no way they're holding a roadshow. Instead, their political warfare relies entirely on memes, mobile phones, and basically fighting the system from the supreme comfort of their own beds. They're delivering this biting, razor-sharp sarcasm that traps people in power, kind of making them laugh right before making them realize, oh wait, I'm the butt of the joke.
Now, if you want to join this movement, you got to meet 4 specific qualifications. First, you must be supremely unemployed, like your degree and resume must be completely useless to the current job market. Second, you got to be unapologetically lazy. You want to change the nation? Sure, but you absolutely refuse to leave your blanket to do it. Third, you need to be chronically online, 24/7, phone in hand, in the shower, in bed, literally everywhere. And fourth, you must be a master meme maker, because you can't just be angry. You actually have to forge that anger into a viral meme that pierces the system. What they've done here is just brilliant. They've literally taken the exact insult society throws at them and flipped them into badges of honor.
Section 2. The Catalyst. How a court remark sparked a viral rebellion.
So how exactly did a joke become this massive movement? Well, it all kicked off during a Supreme Court hearing where terms like cockroach and parasites were actually used. Now, the Chief Justice of India later issued a clarification, making it clear the remark was strictly about people with fake degrees who ruined the system, while he actually praised hardworking youth. But honestly, it didn't matter. The internet had already exploded with youth outrage. By May 15th, a simple Google form was launched on X, and that led to an absolute explosion of followers. Basically, a single controversial remark just ignited this massive, meme-fueled internet backlash.
And this perfectly illustrates the nature of social media. You know the saying, words catch on first and people see their own wounds in them? The reality is, even though the Chief Justice clarified his statement, the youth in this country were already just so deeply frustrated. I mean, they've been dealing with canceled hiring processes, endless paper leaks, and literally aging out of job opportunities. So when they heard those words, they felt personally attacked. The legal context didn't even matter at that point, because the insult just validated the total helplessness they were already feeling.
And you guys, the sheer scale of this reaction is staggering. We're talking 1.5 to 2 million followers on Instagram. This isn't just some niche joke shared in a private group chat anymore. This is a mass digital protest. Hundreds of thousands of young people, feeling completely discarded by the system, have actively united under the banner of an insect. It's wild.
But you have to wonder, who is pulling the strings here? Well, according to the source material, the founder is a 30-year-old named Abhijit, and he brings a very, very specific skill set to the table. He's actually a public relations master's student at Boston University. On top of that, from 2020 to 2023, he worked on the social media team for the Aam Aadmi Party, where he actually ran meme-based campaigns during the Delhi elections. So looking at this impartially, we are seeing an architect who deeply, deeply understands how to craft sharp, viral political meme campaigns. He has stated, though, that the CJP isn't an electoral party. Instead, it's a digital opposition meant to hold a mirror up to the system.
Section 3. The Syria's Manifesto. the bitter reality behind the satirical jokes.
Now, this is where we see the most fascinating switch in the story, because behind the absurd memes and the whole cockroach imagery lies a pretty bitter reality. The demands of this party actually reveal a surprisingly sharp critique of the political system. First up, stop creamy postings, meaning officials shouldn't immediately land cushy new government jobs right after they retire. Second, missing votes. They are demanding strict answers when citizens' votes mysteriously disappear. Third, a 50% women's quota, demanding real equality across the board, completely bypassing that endless 33% debate. Fourth, TV accountability. They want to force news channels to debate actual issues, like inflation and unemployment, instead of just political spin. And fifth, anti-defection. Banning political leaders from treating elections like a literal transfer market by switching parties immediately after winning. So looking at this list, you quickly realize this isn't just trolling. These demands target deeply rooted, very real systemic issues. To wrap up their identity, the party describes itself simply secular, socialist, democratic, lazy. It is an absolutely perfect blend. They are taking standard, foundational constitutional values and just serving them up with their signature deadpan sarcasm. They're essentially saying, hey, we still believe in the core pillars of democracy, we're just way too exhausted and ignored to stand up while defending them.
Section 4. The bitter truth. Why educated youth are calling themselves insects.
So why are our country's educated youth calling themselves insects? I mean, why degrade your own identity just to be heard by the people in power? Well, the creation of the Cockroach Janta Party highlights a completely broken trust in traditional hiring systems. It points to this deep, agonizing frustration over paper leaks that literally destroy years of hard work. We're watching memes actively replacing traditional street protests right now, simply because the streets just don't feel effective to this demographic anymore. And the really poignant takeaway here is that sarcasm has become the absolute last resort of the unheard. Basically, when hope stops answering the phone, sarcasm begins speaking. Which brings us to our final provocative thought. Is this just internet drama, or is it a desperate cry from a broken generation? Are we just watching a temporary social media spectacle, or does this signal a fundamental shift in exactly how young people will express their political anger moving forward? I want you to think about that. Decide for yourself what this digital rebellion truly signifies. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, keep questioning the systems around you.